Good day, everyone. My name is Ubaydullaev Jakhongir, and this is my presentation from Crisis Communication Failures, the British Petroleum case study. Uh, Let me start my presentation. The first page is table of contents. In the first part of our presentation, we will look. We'll talk about. I will talk about the introduction and the crisis communication defined, and then it will be the part of the British Petroleum crisis history, and then analysis and discussions, and then the British Petroleum crisis communication failures. So the last one will be conclusion. So introduction. Uh, On the 20th of April 2010, the petroleum industry has been marked by the largest maritime disaster oil spill in its history, known as the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. The accident was caused by an outstanding explosion and has resulted in the killing of 11 people. The company was facing simultaneously two main issues: the biggest spill oil in the USA history and the considerable financial and the reputation losses. So, and the next one is crisis communication defined. Crisis is an event that suddenly occurs, demands quick reaction, and interferes with the organizational performance because it brings or has the potential for bringing an organization into disrepute and impairs its future profitability, growth, and possibly its survival. So crisis communication was defined by many researchers in different ways. The first, here is some example. According to Gray, crisis communication is related to managing the outcome, impact, and the public perception of the crisis. At the same time, Williams and Treadaway defined the crisis communication as the organization's response to a crisis situation in an attempt to diminish damage to the cooperative image. And while Hale considered that the crisis communication can be summarized as a process of information collection, information processing, decision making, the information distribution of the data necessary to address a crisis situation to internal and external stakeholders. In the breach petroleum crisis history, yeah, this is already time to talk about the history. Here is the breach petroleum crisis history. In December 1965, the British Petroleum oil rig Sea Gim collapsed while it was being moved, and 13 crew died. On the March 23, 2005, British Petroleum Texas City refinery exploded and caught fire. 15 workers have died, and more than 1,070 others have been injured. British Petroleum was then the subject to lawsuits from the victims' families, and was charged with criminal violation of federal environmental laws. So, consequently, the group has tried to differentiate itself from its competitors by displaying a greater environmental awareness. In 2000, the group of renamed itself like a Beyond Petroleum instead of British Petroleum, and adopted new logo featuring in the green and the yellow uh, sandbars, they're like a logo. The group launched an advertising and a public relations campaign that reached $200 million. So British Petroleum also tried to position itself as a company fighting the climate change by promoting the renewable energy activities, including biofuels, hydrogen, solar and wind power, according to a report analyzing the climate change strategy of the top 10 global companies published by the Coalition for Environmentally Responsible Economies on March 2006. British Petroleum was the leader and they had the top score in the ranking of the 10 global companies. So here is the analysis and discussions. It's noteworthy that in order to ensure the validity of the data, we used only trustworthy newspapers, magazines. The collected data was contended, analyzed through a grid from our theoretical framework, as we assume in accordance uh, with SCCT theory that the company's negative performance history intensely the reputational damage resulting from the crisis and could then affect the crisis management and the communication decision when the crisis occurs. Will be decomposed into two subsections. The first describes the British Petroleum crisis history, and while the second one listed the main failures in the bridge crisis communication. So here is the bridge crisis communication failures and the reasons. In particular, it's clear that the British Petroleum was not prepared a crisis communication plan. As a matter of the fact that the former British Petroleum CEO Tony Hiver recognized in interview to Money program on BBC Two that British Petroleum's contingency plans were inadequate and that the British Petroleum was not prepared for the Gulf oil disaster and was making it up day to day. In the early stages, he also said that British Petroleum was not prepared to deal with the intense media scrutiny over the Gulf oil disaster, and that he felt he was demonized and feel it. The second failure is related to expressing concern and empathy to the accident victims as well as other stakeholders. So the next failure concerned that companies' stakeholders' relationship and involvement in the crisis management. In fact, prior to the disaster, British Petroleum has successfully established strong relations with some NGOs. It seems that the company was well aware that establishing such a relations could give it more legitimacy as well as more credibility to its environmental discourse. As discourse also thanks to such a strategy, the group wanted to hedge itself against NGO reaction in the case of accidents, thanks to some British Petroleum giving the nearly $10 million in cash over the years. Over the years, the Nature Conservancy listed British Petroleum as one of the business partners and gave it a seat on its International Leadership Council. So, and then this is time to conclusion. So, a conclusion will be the British Petroleum seems to ignore the rule of crisis communication before, uh, during, and after the crisis. Specifically, British Petroleum seems to ignore that communication during the first hours of the crisis can have remarkable implications for the company image and brand. Almost 80% of the crisis management consists of communication, and that the much of the crisis lies not in its reality but in its perception. Second, and during a crisis, stakeholders want to feel informed, safe, and connected when a crisis occurs, then open timely. And trustworthy reporting as well as a regular dialogue and communication with all stakeholders should be ensured before, during, and after the crisis. So, and this is overall of my the presentation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time and thank you for your time and attention. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome.